Ryan Osborne here with Denver 7, joined by Dr. Mark Schaefer, superintendent of the Thompson School District. Dr. Schaefer, we're talking today, the midpoint of the school year after a full semester during COVID-19. What are some things that you and your administrators at Thompson School District have learned so far to this point?
Well, one thing we know for sure is that teaching and learning still matters. Schools exist to educate students, and in education, students get one shot each year at a grade level, and we want to make sure that it counts. And so whether we're in a pandemic or whether it is a typical quote unquote school year, teaching and learning matters. And so I would say that's first and foremost. What we also know is that health and safety matters as well, especially during the pandemic. And so working in partnership with our local and county agencies, we have worked really hard to ensure that our learning spaces and environments are very safe. And that includes the social distancing and the mask wearing and the cleaning and sanitizing of our facilities and all of those other things. We've learned that by taking those necessary precautions, we've been successful in being able to maintain and keep our buildings open.
What was it like in October and early November when the numbers really started to surge across the country and in Colorado too? What were those discussions like and the decisions that were made?
We know that overwhelmingly our community wanted kids in school. We surveyed them, so we knew that coming from the summer that it was really, really important that we were able to maintain our schools open. At the same time, we were balancing those needs with the health and safety needs of our community. And as we know that as we had surging case numbers and we began to see increased numbers of quarantining and positivity rates, we had to start making some pretty tough decisions with regards to what we were going to be doing with maintaining our school opening or closures. And we made the tough decision as we emerged from Thanksgiving vacation to transition, because we were using a hybrid model at the secondary level and fully in person at pre-K-5. We did move to fully virtual between Thanksgiving and winter vacation. And so it's balancing our health and safety needs of our community. It's part of it was our challenge of just maintaining infrastructure of our district. We were noticing that not only were we having to quarantine larger amounts of our teachers and staff, but that includes our bus drivers and our food service workers and the other personnel that maintain the infrastructure of the district. It became harder and harder just really to maintain business as usual.
What are some hurdles and challenges that people may not be aware of?
We are particularly mindful of the social emotional toll that this has taken on our students. And so that is the underbelly of things that people aren't aware of. I mean, certainly when people think of schools and education, they think of the reading, the writing, the education, the activities, the football games. But the key thing that we are grappling with is the social emotional needs and being able to support health and safety. And this manifests itself in many ways, not only how students are feeling about themselves, but we have issues of food insecurity. There's economic hardships with the pandemic that's has impacted our community. So all of these compete for the attention and engagement of our students. And while students certainly want to learn and be available to learn, it's the social emotional toll that's placed on our students and families and staff, quite honestly, that people may not be aware of. And that just creates additional barriers for us, not insurmountable. I mean, certainly we address it and we're mindful of it, but it does create additional complexities.
Some districts have moved to somewhat of a sliding grade scale or maybe more of a curve. Has Thompson done anything in that regard, or at least helping kids who may be falling behind because of the unprecedented circumstances?
So we've assessment and grading has remained fairly consistent. We want to make sure that we're providing feedback. I know that we have adjusted our graduation requirements in light of the pandemic and some of the challenges in terms of how students earn credits. We want to make sure that our programs maintain the rigor of our practices and our programs and our graduation requirements, but at the same time be mindful that we may need to look at adjusting things, anything from community service requirements to maybe extended deadlines or waiver of classes or electives. And so as we look at a system pre-K-12, our assessment and grading practices have remained consistent and flexible. I would say that there's a measure of flexibility that's inherent and necessary so that students have every opportunity to be successful.
And just wrapping up here, Governor Polis has said repeatedly that schools are the safest place for students to be for the most part. What do you think is the single best argument or main argument for that point? I'm sure you agree somewhat with that. What is your argument for why schools are safe for students to be and have in-person learning?
With rigorous quarantining standards and now testing protocols that we've had here in our district, all of these coalesce to create a safer environment. And then the last thing I would note is we're very excited about the vaccinations. We know that the state is working very hard and working with county and hospitals to, vaccinations are going to be really, really important. We see schools as necessary to be open. Certainly we're mindful that, there's groups in 1A and now we're in 1B, but we want to make sure that we can get our staff and then certainly our students vaccinated as soon as possible.